Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reacts where today we're going to be checking out a couple of tracks from an act named Discovery, the first of these titled Warmongers. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen on YouTube. I think we're also going to be checking out Down with the Bomb. It should be noted that I have actually listened to Discovery before. I think I have reviewed A Knock at the Door and Interstellar Traveler, and those tracks were interesting times, so we're going to listen through each of these two tracks from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go, let's do it. Warmongers. It's kind of loose, isn't it? I kind of dig that. It's heavy.
Deep within the earth, hiding under the ground. Civilization's graveyard is just waiting to be found. Down below.
How did they double track the guitars? Did they do like a single track on both sides, or did they separately sort of track the rhythm guitars? I'm just not sure. Because you typically want to do separate takes.
Centuries long ago, we're on the edge of a knife. Walls of massive vision are threatening our life. Hide away. We must escape this place and leave our home behind. This world is not enough to keep us satisfied. Warmongers and raiders are all that we've become. Steal yourselves away now before you're another one.
I appreciate what's going on with the mixture of the different kind of sludgish, kind of grungy, sort of distorted guitar, bass, and drum textures. And I think that some of the double tracking as well as the single tracking with the vocals is really stellar. I appreciate the style. I am just wondering the vocals are a little bit too prominent in the mix.
Steal yourselves away now before you're another one.
Interesting use of padding there on the left. Black and burning earth is left within our way. Looking for another world that's ours to take. I like the power of the bass though.
Watch the sky.
Nice use of dynamic range as well with that pause.
don't want to know just what's been going on. Solar systems tremble as we silence out the sun. Better hope you're not next, or you'll find that you've become victims of the warmongers. Your time is nearly done.
An iteration on that initial motif. So that was a really interesting first track, Warmongers. What do I think it's about? I think it's talking about how we like to sort of take over things and invade and then colonize, or sort of like pillage, and we talk about the under the ground, and then realizing the world is like not big enough for us, so we go elsewhere to try and sort of take over those parts as well. I think it's an interesting sort of subject to talk about. It makes for compelling music. I think that almost the sound of the guitars kind of reminds me a bit of War Pigs and tracks like that by Black Sabbath. I think that what was really cool about this, I suppose, for one, was the use of the pentatonics to blues scales and some of those kind of groovy rhythm riffs there, and the way they slid around with those hammer-ons and pull-offs. I think also the relative tightness of the performance in regards to some of the percussion and different tom fills and stuff like that, but also a contrast to the cleanliness of the vocals in relation to everything else. There was so much kind of distortion and kind of like friction and fuzziness to it that it really did kind of make you appreciate, like, those contrasts were noticeable, and they helped each other thing, I suppose, stand out. I think having the guitar solo almost go like to the side a little bit, just from a piano perspective, is kind of sweet. You know, like a lot of the time you might have solos with similar melodies and stuff like that, but it's just the little things like the adjustments of the permission of the sort of position and the journey you go on with that kind of stuff that can be really cool. So I think that's honestly like really positive. It's a great start to proceedings. I think generally the production was pretty good, especially for the style. It definitely wasn't over polished. I just feel like, again, the vocals might have been like a little bit prominent in the mix. But aside from that, I feel like it's an interesting sort of journey for Discovery to go on, especially this being their most recent track, February 1st, 2025. But we now have Down with a Bomb, which is a long track at 7:50. Let's go. What are we going to make with the real estate? Interesting use of tremolo vibrato there on the sides.
Down with the bomb, up with the flower, earth scorched with fire, and napalm sour. Nobody can really see the gunman shooting his last wish into the sky, fighting in a war we don't believe in, for people who don't really give a damn.
Great use of rhyme scheme there, or anti-rhyme scheme.
Nothing can erase the bloody memories of children raised to kill and led to die, born into a world they can't survive in, dying in the name of peace and love. There is so much you don't see in your bubble of the world. As you look up at the sky, bombs rain down from above.
Oh, pretty major turn there.
No one stopped to think about the reason. No one ever thought to raise a hand. Take a good look at the world around you. You never know when it'll be your last.
Great use of an alternate solo or lead instrument here. Wasn't expecting the keys to come with that.
Black smoke rising from the hilltops, war pigs crawling through the trees, death and darkness all around me. Oh, what does it all mean? And there is so much you don't see in your bubble of the world. As you look up at the sky, bombs rain down from above.
I mean, it's just a really vivid imagery there. I do prefer this mix to the previous track. I think it's a bit more balanced. It feels like there's less kind of concentrating around the middle and more going around the sides.
Love no war. What's this for? At napalm's hour, they're scorched with fire.
I didn't really. So would that be an organ solo or like a heavy? I'd assume that'd be a key. Unless that's a heavily modulated. I think that's keys.
Down with the bomb, up with the flower, earth scorched with fire, at napalm's hour. Everyone can now see the gunman shooting someone's wish into the sky. Fight to end a war we don't believe in, 'cause people finally learn to give a damn.
Oh, interesting heel turn there.
As you look up at the sky,
Sick. That's awesome. So that was Down with the Bomb by Discovery, track number 2 for today. It was a longer one, but I feel like it was well fleshed out. Structurally, I think it was well handled primarily because of the fact that it never became uninteresting. We had enough context provided within the verse parts there, the gradual development moving from a place where people didn't give a damn to where people did. Preferring to have love over war, or at least peace over war. I mean, but an anti-war song, like a protest track, I think it's very classy. I think there was this like way that we sung that was very like calm and accessible. It never had too much kind of edge to it, where it was almost like we were talking or discussing it in a way which was factual. I think if we'd over emoted it on this, it would have been a little bit too much. But I think just having that lone person on top of the guitar parts, the sort of like the tremoloed kind of keys on the side there, the modulated sort of piano parts there, the bass and the drums there, it's almost very sort of Pink Floyd-ish. And I did appreciate the different elements and how they banded together. I thought that it was great to have different solo sections from the keys and the guitars as well. They sort of meshed really neatly together. I think almost you could say that solo section, as the people come into terms with the fact that maybe what violence is not the answer. And so you're left with a place where they're simply going from, the music represents the agreement being made or any sort of like differences being sort of like sorted out. But I think the chilled out nature of the theme behind it as a final note was kind of what sold it in terms of the both sophistication, but also simply that it was pleasant. Like, again, it was heavy subject matter. Like, you imagine the bombs raining down from above and stuff like that. But it's almost like with how so sure of itself it was without wanting to sort of like try and stoke your attention too much. It simply was more of an environment set in what the story was told rather than something that kept pulling at you all the time. And I think made for actually just, I kind of wanted to hear more, you know. I think in general as well, just before we move on, the production was better in this track than the previous one. I just feel like things were better leveled. But everything else, like the vocals, guitar keys, etc., you know, organ, bass and drums was captured effectively either way. But I suppose effectively this is the conclusion of my sort of like listen through these 2 tracks from an act named Discovery, titled Warmongers as well as Down with the Bomb. I apologize if I've got a bit of a nasal kind of voice today. I can barely breathe at the moment. I've spoken about what I think both of these tracks are about, and I think that they're very impactful. I think nowadays there is concern of like there being war and bombs and stuff like that, to a scale which is uncomfortable. And I appreciate that we're trying to sort of de-escalate the violence and sort of talk about human beings as sort of like narcissistic warmongers who just sort of go everywhere we go, think we need more and more and more and more and destroying things in our wake. I think that it's interesting subject matter for both tracks, and I think it's very compelling. So I can understand why we're listening to both of these within the same track. Usually the conclusion section, I speak about a few sort of overall things I really appreciate about the tracks that I've listened to, as well as any sort of like potential feedback for improvements to the music. And I think if I was to offer some feedback, the only thing I'd really say is just with the mixing of the first track, Warmongers, it's just double checking that with double tracking those rhythm guitars and leveling things so they all sound like more even in the mix, and the vocals weren't as sort of like high in the mid, if that makes sense. Although they could have been because of resonance, because of other instruments. But I feel like I don't usually do the feedback first. I talk about the nice things first. But I think I've been otherwise like really positive about these 2 songs anyways. So if there were 3 things I liked about these tracks, I think first of all was the actual vocal performance. I think it's very sort of like, it's a very beautiful sort of like, there's a stoic nature to it though. Like, we're sure of ourselves. It's conversational without being too chatty. It's not got a nice sort of glow and color and texture to it. The words came through clearly. We were comfortable. Again, the hinge just was arranged there, and we harmonized neatly over everything else that was going on within this piece without it ever feeling awkward or uncomfortable. I think the use of double tracking occasionally as well was really, really sweet. So I like that we're trying to sort of like do more than just simply create a really interesting performance. We're trying to sort of produce that as well. Secondly, I appreciate the attention to detail, I think, with like the tones and textures of the instruments there. I think Warmongers was more intense and more sort of aggressive because of the subject matter of people going to war and destroying and sort of pillaging everything, and the kind of like destruction in that wake, whereas Down with the Bomb is almost like people more sort of like protesting and trying to sort of say, hey, look, we don't like this is not good, we need this to stop. And they're trying to do it in a way which isn't as confrontational. And the fact that it's almost melancholic with the theme suggests that like people still feel sort of similar regardless. It's just simply that there are less bombs or no bombs being dropped anymore. They did have sort of separate personalities with sort of more bluesy, pentatonic kind of rocky stuff going on with the theme of Warmongers, and with Down with the Bomb, we had extensions and a little bit sort of like emotional complexity with some of those chords there. Kind of a sleekness and chic nature to, again, the tremoloed key, the organs, the keys, the guitar solo, etc. Being very sort of almost Pink Floyd-ish and stuff like that, very old school. And yeah, I think we chose our styles and our sort of eras and wrote music according to that in part, and I feel like it was very effective. I think third of all, it's the fact that we were simply able to cover all those really intricate parts on on the drums, and definitely sort of like the lead guitar solos as well. They were just played very neatly. There was a bit of a looser feel to Warmongers that I think was more sort of like caustic and trying to sort of illustrate maybe the sense of chaos that is going on here. Here, it seemed like you had a backing band, everyone was in time, everyone was at pace, and it was just really sort of like pleasant to listen to, just a really well-rounded performance where it sort of went by like clockwork. I think especially even if you have those different guitar and sort of key solo sections, you need the rest of the instruments backing it up to be very, very sort of like stellar and stable, especially in a 7-minute 50 track. So the fact that we managed to sort of smash through that near 8 minutes in a way that was very elegant and impressive was really positive. Overall, though, I appreciate the messages that we're putting forward. I think the music is compelling, and I hope that they make more of it, because this is my, I suppose, my review, my sort of like breakdown of these tracks from an act named Discovery titled Warmongers and Down with the Bomb, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.